And we are recording episode 872 with the one and only Mr. Gregg Phillips. Thank you to Mr. Jeffrey Prather for putting me in touch with you. Mr. Phillips, for all the listeners who don't know you, please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. My name is Gregg Phillips. A lot of people know me these days as the guy with the beard in the 2000 Mules movie. The reality's a little bit different. I own a healthcare technology company. We do healthcare fraud detection and all sorts of other stuff. I've been in the election intelligence business, both in the U.S. and abroad, since '82. And I've done all manner of stuff. These days, we are not just a surfacer and acquirer of information, but we exploit and we analyze and we action out. So we're doing a lot of things that, frankly, I think a lot of our donors probably believe the government should be doing, but they're just not getting it done. And there's some lines, but that's life these days. And thank you so much for having me on the call on your podcast, Tom.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for coming on. And for all future listeners, today is Wednesday, July 27th, 2022. I guess just to get right to it, the big question is election integrity. Nothing matters. Nothing made me more furious than about a month after the 2020 election, when you had a bunch of people, talking about the rhinos that were certifying the election, and they're like, "Wait till they get primaried," and I was like, "Do you not just saw what just happened? Like, it doesn't matter." And I've interviewed Joe Kent, Anthony Sabatini, several other guys. Well, the guy that just won in Georgia, his name's escaping me right now. The former trucker who just won his spot in Congress. But really, the big
Yeah.
thing comes down to none of this, and truly none of this matters if there are not secure elections. I've been blessed to interview General Flynn's brother, Joe Flynn, who, I guess, speaking on General Flynn's behalf, said that he fears a black swan event in 2022 or 2024, and that they simply won't allow elections. What you seem to be the master on this. How is it going to pan out? What if that's the $1 trillion question, but what does your crystal ball tell you?
Well, I know Joe and Mike and all of us. I don't think any of us have time to really be friends and hang out, but we do spend time and we all talk about these things. And our position on this is that so much of what is happening now and that people have come to know as election fraud and voter fraud, that kind of stuff, is really, this country's been doing this to each other. We've been doing this to the various parties for 200 years. I mean, we've been doing this almost from the beginning. 200 years ago, Andrew Jackson lost his first race for the presidency because they cheated him out of it. He came back a few years later and won the presidency by cheating better than they did. And you take it all the way through the 1800s. I mean, cheating got so bad they quit using boxes because they didn't know what was in the box, so they made them use glass bowls. There's a few of those big glass bubbles in the Smithsonian Institute, and that's what they are. And if you really think about that, and you think, oh, wow, we've been doing this forever, and then you kind of fast forward. As technology progressed, what they figured out how to do was to cheat more and more by codifying a broken process. So they break a process, like cleaning the voter rolls, for example. They don't really clean them. There's all sorts of lies. Every single one of them, Republican, Democrat, they're all liars. They are not cleaning these rolls. But they sort of give the illusion that they are by deploying these different technologies, saying they're going to do this, saying they're going to do that. And so much of what's happened to us has been a institutionalization of the fraud in the form of a codified broken process. And if you contemplate that and you think, wow, that's a big thing to think about, but there are a few election processes that can't be manipulated. Now they don't even have to it's not technically even cheated anymore because they've embedded it in the process. That all said, obviously, there's some huge things going on right now. Some of the things we look at are old school. I know there are other people looking at, the machines and all this different stuff. but the one thing I think that all of us in this space do agree with is that they've gotten into a place now where the depth and breadth of the information op is so significant that the cheating is almost expected, right? I mean, Aaron Lewis's song, it says, everybody's shaking their head saying something ain't right. Well, right. That's exactly what's happening. Everybody's like, what's happening here? What I think is going to emerge from all of this is I hope that Joe and Mike aren't right. And while I absolutely can't dismiss that as possibility, I think what's more possible is more of the same crap. Like you said, everybody's like, I can't wait to primary these guys. We're going to beat them. And then we don't beat them. We've got the same rules in place in Arizona that we had in place in 2020. There was a lot of lip service, a lot of lies told by that Republican legislature. I hope they all get beat, because they didn't just sort of insinuate, imply, or out and out lie that they were going to do something to people in Arizona. They did it to America, right? That place is broken, flat out broken. There were 4 consent decrees that their Secretary of State signed, Katie Hobbs, the lady who's now running for governor. She had 4 consent decrees that when I presented there at the legislature in December of 2021, I brought the 4 consent decrees with me, and I don't remember, I shouldn't say all, but 99% of the members in that room had no idea about it. They actually came back to me and asked me for copies of them later. So if you think about that just on its surface, so what you have is a rogue criminal Secretary of State. She's signing agreements behind everyone's back. She's changing things to take the force and effect of the law. The legislature knows that, and they did nothing to stop her. Nothing. The governor there did nothing to stop her. And that's just repeated over and over again. So let's look at all of these states. Georgia passed a law and it made it worse. Now they put the drop boxes inside a building and took the cameras off of them completely, so no one can see anything. Arizona did nothing. Michigan did nothing. Pennsylvania did nothing. And Wisconsin did nothing. And some of those they can't because they don't have enough power. They didn't have a governor in Pennsylvania. I get that. I'm not fussing about that. But in places where they could have changed it and made it better, in Georgia and Arizona in particular, they did nothing. And so if we're running for the same broken processes, the same dirty voter rolls, the same drop boxes, the same mass mailing of ballots, and then in places like Pinal County, Arizona, they screwed up the ballots. They knew they were going to screw them up. And then they injected 63,000 new ballots into the system during the primary. And now nobody knows what to do. And I think everybody believes that every single candidate that loses and that has something to do with Pinal County has a cause of action. They knew when that happened, the day before it happened, they all had a big meeting. And they all got together and they said, what are we going to do? Well, we're not going to be ready. Let's just go with what we have. Okay. That's like flaw number 1, right? And then when it all blew up, they're like, oh, well, let's fix it. Let's just make a whole bunch of more Xerox copies of these ballots and send 63,000 more of them out. And I know that's just one example, but everybody knew that Arizona was broken. They knew Arizona was broken. Katie Hobbs knew Arizona was broken, and she facilitated the cheating. And so I don't know the answer to your question. But as I said, I hope Mike and Joe aren't right. And I know a lot of people think that. But what I do know is the same damn cheating that happened last time is going to happen again. So unless Republican or conservatives or whomever get out and vote, first of all, vote out all the crap and bring in some new people, nothing's ever going to change, which brings me to the last point. The cabal that was created after Trump was elected that allowed 2 Russia false, investigations, 2 impeachments. They cheated almost at will, and nobody did anything. We sued the state of Nevada and Catherine did, the True the Vote team did, in the spring of 2020, when we knew all this was going on. The Republican Secretary of State basically lied to everyone and said, "Oh, there's no problem here. Nothing to see here, folks. Just nothing to see here." Then she supported about a month later, because she knew she was in trouble with this lawsuit, she supported the legislature to change the law to codify all of the cheating that she had put in place in the first place. And on top of that, the head of the Republican National Committee came out and said, "Oh, those True the Vote people, they're just stirring up trouble. We're for this Secretary of State and we're for these changes." So if you have the Republican establishment, the Democrat establishment, everyone on the left, you have the same laws, the same processes. The only thing that can overwhelm it is an absolute pushback from the pro-freedom movement, the pro-patriot movement, the pro-liberty movement, to just absolutely overwhelm their cheating with votes. And I think that's what's going to happen. So sure, we're going to win the Congress back. We'll probably win the Senate back. We might pick up a few seats in the Arizona House. We might not. But my view of that is, if they're going to do nothing, who cares? These people had control of the Senate. I'm talking about in DC. They had control in Trump's first 2 years, control of the Senate and control of the House and control of the White House. And they did a whole bunch of nothing to fix all this. These state legislators and these governors that have Republicans that have chosen to do nothing, they're culpable as the rest of them. We vote them all out, or we're all dead. That said, they're all still in place. Processes are still in place. Everything that's wrong and everything that was wrong about 2020 is still wrong today. Now, it's harder to cheat when you're not doing a presidential election, but that said, I mean, they're going to cheat. Look, they're cheating each other right now. They're cheating each other in the primaries. And we've got examples of cheat going on. I was telling they cheat each other more than they cheat us, Tommy. It's crazy.
It kind of harkens back to memories of Trump's first or second debate with Hillary, and it's her talking about, that Donald has been avoiding taxes for that, and he goes, "Well, you've been in government for 37 years and you haven't changed any of it." It does bring up the question of, if there was cheating, and I believe there was. I mean, I watched the election on that night. I watched it all pause and start going backwards. And I have screenshots on my phone of like CNN's map as the shades of the colors of the states start to reverse. If all these people were in charge to do this and they're all, rah, rah, this is a threat to our republic, where's the effective change? Where is it? I mean, do you go full conspiracy and say, "Oh, it's the," and I just did an interview about the deep state with Peter Dale Scott. I don't mean that in a conspiracy. There's clearly a deep state. There's clearly an entrenched intelligence apparatus. I mean, back to Dwight Eisenhower, January 17th, 1961, military industrial complex, Smedley Butler, back to 1933. FDR talking about how, in some private letter, you and I both know that financial interests have been running this country for the last century. That's not a conspiracy. I mean, more so the act of the conspiracy. Why wasn't it flipped on January 6th? Why did they certify? It seems like there is a hidden hand, and you got to be careful at that, because once you start writing everything off as, "Oh, well, there's a deep apparatus," well, then it's like having a blank check. You can just say everything you don't like is the actions of the CIA or whatever. But
sure,
if there was actual concern, this all would have been changed. And I think what this is really illuminating is that it is the uniparty. It is the cabal, that the lumbering big machine just going one step forward at a time, just like the defense budget always goes through, just like on butter. There's no defiance to it. It seems like that's what's happening now. If they really wanted to break up big tech and stop censorship, they would have. If they really wanted to if they really wanted to seal up the border, they would. If they really wanted to slow down inflation, we wouldn't be writing $1/10 of a trillion to Ukraine. If they don't want it to change, and I agree with you, and I hate that it's the answer, but it seems like you just sort of have to hope and pray that it gets overwhelmed. You want it to be such an overwhelming wave that they either can't cheat or their cheating must become so apparent, right?
Right.
If it's you and me and we're running like a 400-meter sprint, I don't know how in shape you are, I don't know how in shape I am. We might get a little close and, maybe I can like tug on your shirt. But if it's me versus Usain Bolt, I mean, I got to have a guy with a rifle in the crowd shooting him in the leg.
Right.
But it
Right.
forces the hand. It forces it to be so overt that you can't help but see it in the bright light. To shift from that whole rant, I think I just saw today or yesterday on Twitter about Biden giving $1 billion to, I think, DHS or HUD to turn ballot harvesting into a federal operation. Is that the nail in the coffin for elections?
Yeah. Well, look, I think that there's still some Ken Paxtons of the world, the Attorney General down in Texas, and there's still enough of those guys out there where they're going to push back. I mean, Michael Watson, the Secretary of State of Mississippi, is an old friend, and Michael's as significant a patriot as anyone I know, and they're just not going to stand back and watch this. And so my my hope is that that Tommy, I think one of the things that Mules did, and people can believe it or not believe it or whatever, but here's what we believe happened. It's the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back, because they were, for years we've been under lockdowns and wear your mask and get the jab and sit down and shut up, and we're going to mail out all these ballots and we're going to do all this stuff, and if you have anything to say about it, January 6th, you're mad about it, we're going to put you in prison, and we're not even going to tell anybody what you did. And so you just go on and on and on and on, and you think through all of these things, like okay, well, what's it going to take to stop all of this? I think that what Mules did was it gave people something that they could believe in, because it was data driven. It wasn't, about a PCAP being sent from Rome via satellite. It wasn't about, a machine, which, a lot of people don't understand. There wasn't any of that. This was just old school cheating. They found ballots, they bundled those ballots, and they stuffed those ballots in the ballot box, and that's it. And I think that millions of people, and not just in America, but all over the world, they're translating this movie now in Italy into Italian, and in Spain into Spanish, and they previewed it at the EU in Brussels. People are calling me. I had a friend of mine call me from Mozambique the other day. I have friends calling me from all over the world. I have people calling me from Australia and everywhere else, where their freedoms have been stolen. It's a truth. It's a truism that the human heart longs to be free, and it's an immutable truth, and there's nothing they can do about it. Now, for people that aren't free, the Chinese and the people that are beat down, that will take some sort of a massive revolution, and lots of blood will spill. I think that in America, people are so done with it that there's not going to be anywhere else for them to go. They have nowhere further left to go. They can't move anywhere closer to Marxism or socialism or whatever the hell they're calling it these days. There's just nowhere else to go without cracking this thing wide open. I think that's what they're trying to do, right? They're obviously trying to indict Trump so that he can't run again. I read a poll, some survey, or no, it wasn't even a survey, it was a study done by some academicians, and they were saying 50% of Americans believe there's going to be a civil war. And you read into it, and it's really not at all what it was really trying to say. What it really was a bunch of leftist academicians saying that the right, the extreme white right, is going to do something, and everybody better get ready, because we're going to have to kill them all. And you really have to contemplate those things sort of in some context, with the context being, okay, they've moved the needle this far left. And so no matter what you believe on the continuum, we've moved, as far towards socialism as we've ever been, maybe in this country's history, save the 1930s and 40s. And then you think, okay, well, what stopped it in the 40s? World War II, right? And then, okay, well, what are we going to do to stop it? What happened in the 60s. And how did we get out of this? Right now, that needle has moved. It's buried left. It can't go much further without blowing this thing up. But I think they're trying. I just don't think they have anywhere to go. And I think this movement, I don't think mules caused it. I just think mules was just a straw that did break the camel's back. And now people are just willing to say, no, I'm not doing this. I believe in God. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in my family. I believe in guns. I believe in all of these things. And no one's going to take anything else from me. And I think there's more of that. No, you're not doing this to me. There's an old Irish folk song called the Patriot Game. Kind of modeled my my new podcast, patriotgames.com, out of this. And in the song is all about a young guy who leaves his family, and he's 16 years old. He's a kid, and you know what? He's going to go fight for his country. And the Patriot Game is your love of country. In fact, at one point in the song, it says, the love of one's country is a terrible thing. It banishes fear with the speed of a flame. And he goes on to talk about people aren't afraid. And what they're not afraid of is if they've stolen freedom from us, what else do we have to fear, right? And people just aren't going to allow it. They're not going to allow it. And then another song that helped sort of frame my brain around all of this, called "The Rebel," another Irish song. I mean, those people went through a lot of stuff over there. They were never free for a long time, and now you still got the Northern Ireland, still 6 counties up there still aren't free. But at the end of the song, beware of he says, beware of the risen people who will take what you would not give. And and at the end he calls them tyrants, hypocrites, and liars. And it's so prescient in today's life and in our world here in the United States. I mean, if I went out and didn't even tell people what I was talking about, I just started talking about the tyrants, the hypocrites, and the liars, every single person I talked to would say, oh, the government or the Congress or whatever. And how could that be? How could this country have gotten to the point where, without even naming a name or naming an institution, you can say 3 words: tyrant, hypocrite, and liar, and people are going to nail the Congress, the government in general, the deep state, the shadow government, as we used to call it, whatever it is. I don't know, man. I know I'm on a little bit of a rant today, but
No, absolutely.
we just can't watch this stuff happen. And people aren't watching this anymore. This isn't like we're having to go, find people to come meet with us to listen to our story. I mean, thousands of people come out to some of these events that we go to, and they're all saying the same thing. We knew something was wrong. We just didn't know what. And if this was part of the what, and if this ignites that passion to get eyes on, that passion to, somebody told me they were going to he and his wife were going to go take their lawn chair and they had a drop box at the end of their street. They were just going to go sit there and invite all their friends, just sit there and wait on people to come do something. And of course, they're never going to see anything. But I would say that sentinel effect that those people are saying, we're going to watch this. My partner, Catherine Engelbrecht, has a big new initiative with the sheriffs called protectamerica.vote. And we're going to be partnering with sheriffs. We're going to give them grants to buy some high-end surveillance technology. We're going to be sucking that into our data center. We're going to be evaluating this data. We're going to be applying AI to it. And we're going to find some cheaters. But more than that, these cheaters are going to know there's a chance they're going to get caught. There's all sorts of theories about sort of how you stop crimes. And one of the ways, a friend of mine, Malcolm Sparrow, wrote a book about healthcare fraud called License to Steal. And one of the key premises in Sparrow's book, in all of his work, whether it be with credit cards or whatever it is, that there has to be a chance to stop something like this. There has to be a chance that they're going to get caught. Otherwise, they don't care. If they think there's no way I'm going to get caught. So one of the key written premise in Sparrow's book was if you can create a chance that every single ballot's put in there has a chance to be reviewed, or maybe they're fingerprinted or something, there's a chance that they're going to get caught, then they're going to stop. The final thing is that these legislators are too cowardly to do. Tommy, they can stop this crap instantly. You make every instance of ballot fraud a 10-year minimum sentence. It's done. No one's going to go to jail for 10 years for these people, or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or a lifetime. They're not going to go to jail just to get $400 or $1,000 or $10,000. People aren't going to do that. There might be a handful, but nothing like we're seeing now. Right now, they have no fear. In Georgia, through all that you've heard, all of our fighting, all of our pissing and moaning, and everybody saying they cheated, they cheated, they cheated, they cheated. You know why it really doesn't matter? And you know why they really don't care? It's because it's just a misdemeanor. These people are going to get a $200 fine and a slap on the wrist. Okay, that's not deterring anything. You make this a legit felony. You put these people in prison and you make it known, you're going to prison. We're not doing a plea deal with you. We're not. It's mandatory sentence, 10 years. Put them in prison. This crap will stop instantly. But these Republican legislators, they're cowards. They have no intention of doing it. Absolutely no intention of doing it.
Yeah, I went to the University of Georgia, and 30,000 students there getting hammered drunk every Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I think it was when I was
went to Alabama, same thing. Especially when we played y'all, then it was 60,000 drunk people.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the two cities combine into just a pit of debauchery. But I remember, I think it was like 2011 or 2012, like my junior year there, they changed some law in like Clark County, where Athens is, and they changed it from, if you were caught urinating in public, they changed it from like $100 fine to you're placed on the sex offender list for life. Man, that's how you cut it out. Because I would walk home from the bars every Thursday. I had one telephone pole. That was my bathroom. I tell you this, never again. I would rather die from my bladder rupturing. I was like, I am not going on some pedophile. And it's Georgia, so they'll leave you on there for life. They don't care. Throw you in prison. But that's kind of what you need, or at least the fear of being caught. And that's
Amen.
That's kind of what I think it is you have to have the fear of being caught. I mean, you don't know. I mean, isn't it something like whenever the FBI like probes it, like TSA, don't they like 99% of the time get through? But the thing is like, if you're trying to get something through TSA, if you're a radical fundamentalist terrorist, you're trying to go blow something up, is that backscatter machine going to catch you? Is the wand going to beep? And oftentimes you only need the fear to keep you in line. Like, there are not police present on every stretch of every bit of highway. But man, all you got to do is get whacked once, and for the next decade, you stay at 5 over on the freeway because you don't know if it's there. And every individual person is thinking the same thing. And that's the only way you can sort of control the masses. And I think that's what it is. Or it has to become so apparent that again, it becomes obvious. It becomes, they boiled the frog and they did it very well. But like, once they banned Dr. Malone from Twitter, then people were like, well, hold on. Like, I got banned from YouTube for interviewing Dr. Malone and Dr. McCullough. And I have friends that are like, wait, what? Why did you get banned? Like, why didn't you watch the episode? People ask me, I'll send them an email, try to get guests on. And the big question always comes up, well, how come you're not on YouTube? They're probably thinking I got a swastika behind me or something. I'll send you the video.
Because of McCullough.
Yeah, I'll send you the video. And they always get back to me. They're like, did that really get you banned? Because it's just Dr. McCullough talking about terms I don't understand. But that's what got me banned. And I think, and who knows, maybe this is just my own idealism. Maybe it's my own optimism. Maybe I'm being naive. I think, because you're correct, the cheating's always been there. Just like we saw with COVID, the FDA and the CDC. At first, it's this, oh my God, like the big pharma's in bed with the government. Well, then enough time goes by, your brain starts ticking. You go, was it COVID or did COVID pull back the veil? I remember when I got arrested for drinking and I was 17, and I tried to tell my parents it was the first time I was drinking. Really, Tom? This is the first time. What a coincidence. No, it pulled back the veil. It meant that I wasn't allowed to go to Joe's house anymore. Like that's what it means. And
exactly.
I think that's what it will have to be. Is you just have to make it so overt that you have to put the burden of the crime on the mules, on the individuals carrying it out. And it's kind of not a good outcome, but I think it's the only thing we can lean on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah, I
only
have
right
no
there.
doubt that's true. And I think about it, and you know, it seems like such a simple solution, right? You and I sit here and laugh about it. We come up with funny stories
Sure.
and different things that happen. By the way, I have my own drinking stories. If I was far younger than you were, and we stole a case of Falstaff beer from my neighbor's storage room next door to my parents' house, and you know, we didn't have any fear we were going to get caught by the cops. We had fear that we were going to
Oh
get
yeah.
caught by my dad,
Oh yeah.
and we ultimately did. And so
Yeah.
the blowback from that was the most severe punishment. I'd been better off in prison
A hundred
than
percent.
than dealing with my dad having caught me stealing, which and it was unbelievably painful. The blowback from it too,
Yeah.
but you know, there was a chance I was going to get caught. We waited out. Okay, well, I mean, we were 14. What are you going to
Yeah.
do? And we waited out. Like, okay, here we go. And you know, I regretted that for years after that. I mean, even when my dad was dying, my brother filled in. There were some pieces to that story that that were never told, and but he got blamed for it. So my dad was dying, and so we decided we're just going to go in and, you know, just, Dad, I want to tell you about all this stuff. You were right about this. You were right about that. We did this. We did that. And my brother, like out of the blue, goes, "Hey, and you remember when he stole that beer? Let me tell you what he also did."
Throw you under
And
the
I'm like,
bus
"Oh
on
my
the
God."
deathbed.
Yeah, threw me on. Yeah, I'm like, I was like 50 or no, I was younger than that. I was like 40 years old. My dad and my brother's throwing me under the bus for having stolen a case of beer and taking his car out, my dad's car out for a joyride. And
Man, I still put the
I mean, I'm
blame on.
not. I'm sure I'm about to get torched by some of the you know, mothers against drunk driving and whatever. But listen, folks, this was in like 1974. I'm a different dude now.
Yeah, it was just hey man, like I told you, I lost my brother to suicide, but I still put the full blame on his shoulders for in 2007 when mom and dad were out of town and they came back and someone had spray painted the fire station down the road. You know, I just blame it
My
on him.
God,
Yeah, wasn't me.
I think it was your brother.
It
Listen,
was
I
entirely
heard about
John.
it where I was, and I heard it was John too.
Yeah, that's the word on the
Yeah,
street still
man.
circulating. There's no satellite images of that. So John, I miss you, but that was entirely you. And if I don't know what the statute limitations are, but that being that being
You know
said,
what the funny part about it is, you know, John's up there going, "We're right on, bro."
oh, oh no, he's going. He's looking down at me. He's like, "Dude, you don't no." But to kind of like pull it back in, then what is and I have to be careful because I've interviewed so many Delta Force guys and CIA ground branch guys and special forces that I do have to be careful about how I word things because I have been approached about inciting violence, which I've never done. So I always have to
Right.
clarify what I'm saying that I'm not calling for
Yeah.
anything at all.
Been there, man. Been there,
That
man. I got
that
approached here. I got approached here recently about something I said on Truth Social. That, I mean, and they read it to me, and I'm like, "Yeah,
oh yeah,
so
no,
what? Well,
the FBI.
don't you think that's a little edgy, inciting violence?" I'm like, "No,
Yeah,
it
no,
had nothing to do with violence."
I know for a fact the FBI is a big fan of this podcast, and hey, so shout out
That's
Quantico.
right.
But when I look at it, I look at so that's my disclaimer. But so like you said about the bringing the lawn chair, watching the drop boxes, setting up a GoPro, is that the only thing that can be done? Because once it gets to Dominion software, I mean, I don't know a thing about computers, so I don't know. You have to get some NSA spook to figure that out. But is
Right.
there anything that people can do that falls short of, because then you also have to like not become the thing you're trying to fight against. You don't want to be some sort of intimidating squadron at the ballot, because that's just as bad as going black bloc Antifa to intimidate, which I don't think
100%.
anyone does. But Is there anything anyone can do, or is it just eyes open? When no one was expecting the sort of the well coordinated coup on the election, and that's what it was. It was evil, but you have to respect the enemy. It was done beautifully. All the media
Right.
stations were on lockstep. Social media would get banned to give you the label. This has been proved false or this is misleading. It was beautifully done. It was done like a military operation because it probably was. But at least this time people are looking for it. The putting up the whiteboards on the windows so you can't look in, the kicking out the Republican poll watchers, the rolling up
Right.
with just vans at 2 a.m, 3 a.m, 4 a.m, the water leak. Is there anything anyone can do aside from, like, you and I, again, we're sitting here, we're laughing, we're rah-rahing. Is there anything anyone can do other than just go keep your eyes open? You want people to know that they can get caught. Again, it's you don't know if there's a cop on the freeway, but you err on the side of caution. Is that
Yeah.
all anyone can do?
Well, I think for the short haul, we've got some problems, right? We're 100 days out and we don't have a lot we can do. What we are planning on doing, Catherine's got that partnership I mentioned to you with the sheriffs, protectamerica.vote. But part of that is going to be bundling technology grants to these sheriffs and put in place some really high-end surveillance equipment so that we can get eyes on, create some webs of this equipment so that we can see where these people are going, what they're doing, maybe apply some nice AI to it, maybe buy some geo and mash it up, and maybe even some, mash in the images or the imaging. So what we think we can do is we can create the combination of open source intelligence and geo intelligence and the image intelligence, mash it all together, put it in a bucket, and then hand it, maybe not literally, but figuratively hand it to the sheriff sitting next to us.
Yeah.
So we're working with Sheriff Hayden in Johnson County, Kansas, or working with Sheriff Lamb, or working with Dar Leaf up in Michigan. And we're working with all these sheriffs. And we think one of the most important things we can do is figure out where is that not so bright line, and how close can we get to it with our information. We obviously don't want to invade anyone's privacy. We
Sure.
darn sure don't want to suppress it. Don't want to suppress any votes, but we do want to have the appropriate eyes on that's not intimidating. In this case, maybe a kind of a tiny little hidden camera with some extraordinary capabilities from the new chips that they develop for these things. And we mash all that up and we give it to the sheriff in near real time and say, hey, here you go, Greg, this dude, Gregg Phillips, he's known, or whatever. Or maybe we don't even ID the guy, let them figure it out, right? Or we let them do what they need to do from getting the sheriff or the courts to unmask the people or whatever it is they've got to do. Let's figure out what that is, bundle it, and then just give it to them and let them action on it. So we believe that this is part of the answer. It's not all of it, but it's absolutely part of it. For the long haul, this is absolutely true. We've got to continue to build out these fusion centers. Mike and Joe Flynn are building something down in Florida. We've got ours. There are a number of these things being built around, and I'm super excited about it. But going back to the kind of the four key pillars around all of this, they have to clean the voter rolls. If you don't clean the voter rolls, you open the door to all manner of fraud. You have to clean the voter rolls. Stop this mail-in ballot stuff. I'd like to go back to, everybody vote in person on election day. I don't care if we give an election day holiday.
Absolutely.
Amen. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Everybody have a holiday. Everybody go vote. Everybody
Right
go
on.
stand in line. And everybody go vote. But we have to stop this mail-in voting, and it needs to be on election day. Everybody goes and votes, and everybody will be happy that way. And then they have to eliminate these drop boxes. Make people go vote somewhere that is legitimate. These BS drop boxes are illegitimate. They're ripe for fraud. You wouldn't put anything in there, and let alone the sacredness of a ballot. Are you kidding? I mean, why would you put anything in some bogus box that some moron stood up on the side of the road? And then finally, going back to the last one, I'm going to harp on this until I do get in trouble, but this has got to be a crime that these people fear. and a $200 misdemeanor or $200 fine for a misdemeanor is not okay. It's just not. We have to make this stick, kind of like your thing about, urinate in the street. They have to make this stick. Put them on the sex offender roll, put them in prison for 10 years, do something that hurts. And if they'll do that, then we're going to win. We're going to be okay.
And I don't even have a problem. I mean, I do in the same way you cheer for your team. But like, I don't have a problem with Trump losing or whoever your candidate is. If it's
I'm
just
with you.
make it fair. If you get your ass kicked, hey, it sucks. When you get your ass handed to you, it sucks. I was pre-med in college. When you studied for 90 hours for a test and you still walked away with a 70, man, it hurts. But at least you walk away from
Do
it
better
going,
next time, right?
At least you walk away from it going, I got to go harder next time. You don't walk away from it going, was that professor? Did they have it out for me? Because then the whole thing is if the game is rigged, you can't play. It's that's all I want. If Trump genuinely lost, I mean, that's the thing is I could believe it. If the election actually just happened that night, I could believe that enough people didn't vote for Biden but voted against Trump. The foaming at the mouth was so strong. I'd never question. I'd be like, yeah, I mean, they did hate orange, man, but
yeah, maybe
it's
yeah.
But it's how it happened. That's what the hair stands up on the back of your neck. That's watching you going, this isn't normal. And again, I think like you said, I don't think it's anything new. I think we're seeing it so openly for the first time
Right.
that
So brazen.
the only hope I have because I think a lot of people who even voted for Biden, I think there are a lot of functioning smart adults who deep down in their gut, they think they're not ruling out that something fishy happened. Just based on their own, man, they paused in the middle of the night and then all, like 99% of subsequent ballot. I mean, mathematically, that's impossible.
Right.
But they hated
Right.
Trump so much that they kind of, whatever, they're going to let it slide. And I don't condone that, but I rationally understand it. Your team wins on a BS call and you're just like, yeah, all right, we'll let that slide. We get the trophy. I get it from a flawed human standpoint. Really the only hope I have now is that people who might have just watched it happen and not say anything, I think we're really more than ever in my lifetime, I'm only 31, more than ever in my lifetime, are we seeing the elections have consequences. In 2 years, the economy has tanked. They've printed 80% of US dollars in existence. The vaccine mandates, the wild censorship, the grooming of children. Never has it been more apparent. I mean, buy an electric car is the new let them eat cake. Never has it been more apparent that you can let the empire decay so long as you have bread and circus. They're censoring the circus and you can't afford the bread. And that's kind of my only hope is the people who would silently go along with it, even though deep down they think it was a little hairy. Now they're looking at it, I hope, and going, I can't fill up my gas tank. A bag of chicken at Walmart went from $4 to $11, and that's when I can find it. I don't really know if there's a question there, if that's my own rant, or if I'm just treating you as a therapist. But
listen, man. Listen, you're echoing what we hear every day out there. I mean, we're talking to people, and we're not talking about Republicans. I mean, people are coming up and talking to us, and I mean, a guy stopped me in the Las Vegas airport the other night. I'll do even better than that. I was getting on the Southwest plane. The Southwest pilot came out and talked to me. The two people sitting next to me were, one was an undercover cop and the other, his wife owned a gun shop. Some people on the other side, African-American couple, and we all got talking about this thing. And this is on a plane. And we're all sitting there talking about this thing. And only one of them identified themselves as a Republican. That was the pilot. The two on my right, one of them said he was a Democrat, the undercover cop, but he said he was almost embarrassed by it. The lady next to me that ran the gun store said she was a libertarian. The other two just defined themselves flat out as Democrats, and not one of them wanted to talk about anything other than the mules. And they wanted to talk about, where else is this happening? Is this did you, one of the people, one of the couples was from Las Vegas. Did you look in Las Vegas? We know what's happening in Las Vegas. And so this goes over and over and over and over and over again. All of the things that are happening down in San Luis, Arizona are Democrat on Democrat. I mean, these people will do anything to keep money, power, and control. But going back to how I started this thing, tyrants, hypocrites, and liars are all going to be exposed by the patriots, and they're all going to come back, and they're going to take what's been taken from them. And for whoever listening, I don't mean like nobody's going to get killed. I'm not talking about, we're not insurrectioning. I'm just telling you, people are going to people are going to recover their freedom. They're going to take it back, and there's nothing the other side can do about it. And so I think, as they always do, they overplayed their hand, and they overplayed their hand in a big way this time. And they have no idea what to do about it.
And I think they probably, and it's kind of Scooby-Doo, I could have gotten away with it. I think they could have gotten away with it had they just slowed their roll. If they had done COVID in like 2029, and I've interviewed the head of the Soviet Union bioweapon program, Ken Alabek, defected the United States in 1991, as well as Dr. Malone and what's the other one? The one that got I'm having a blank here. The one that was charged for, no, Malone, McCullough, I have had then, and
Dr. Gold.
No, I'm trying to remember his name. The guy that was wrongfully charged for the anthrax case after 2001. Man, I'm pulling a blank.
Yeah.
I've interviewed him. I've interviewed Dr. Nass, the other anthrax expert, and Dr. Alabek. So yeah, they're all looking at this. I don't want to put words in any of their mouth, but so when I say they did COVID, I mean they did COVID. But had they done it in like 2029, had they like slowed the roll of the censorship, just one person a year, start with Alex Jones, wait 18 months, get Milo, wait 18 months, maybe knock out Steven Crowder, just little tiny baby steps, they could have gotten away with it, because they've been getting away with it, I would argue, since November 22nd, 1963. You could go back even further and say 1913. They've been getting away with it. And again, they've been doing it masterfully. Just little baby steps, just turn it up a little bit, just turn it up a little bit. It's too much too fast. They're grabbing too much way too fast. And
this thing where they're going to try to indict Trump is going to crack it open.
Yeah, it's getting there, which then makes me think to like, these people, they're not stupid as much as everyone wants to say, oh, the idiot. You're not an idiot. You get to the White House through a fair process or through cheating. You don't do that by being stupid. That's just the case. That's just how you get away with cheating in football. You're not stupid if you've got a doctor that's getting you some hormones that can't be detected with no metabolites. You're not stupid. You could be evil. You are not stupid. Calling them stupid is giving them way too much benefit of the doubt. When I think about everything we're talking about, it's so overt, it's so brazen, it's going to get cracked open. You have to wonder, has this been war gamed in? Do they want the response?
Sure.
Because we don't live in a vacuum. We live in a world. I mean,
no
think
question.
like Few Good Men, like you want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. We don't live on planet America. We have less than 20. We have what, 300 million times 10, 3 billion times 2. We have less than 1/20th of the world's population, less than 5% of the world's population. There is a hungry, hungry world in the shifting sands of time and millennia and power, from the Great Pyramids to landing on the moon. We don't live on planet America. We live in a very dark, clawing world of natural selection that's been going on from dinosaurs to nation states. They might war game it out to where you and I are looking at it going, they're being overt, they're going to get caught, but there might be a higher hand going, we want it to get caught. We want this thing to rip itself apart. Again, I don't really know if I have a question in there.
Well, they want to take over the elections, right? So that they can control it forever. Because if this thing does blow up, they're going to say, look, we just can't trust the states to do this. So in some ways, they like us bitching and complaining about it, right? That way that gives them another reason to say, hey, even Gregg said that this thing was unfair. That's for sure out there. But I think that the long game they've been playing started on December 16th at the Willard Hotel in 2016, where Soros got them all together and said, never again will we do this. We're going to lay this out. And when that plan didn't work and they couldn't all the way destroy him, they cannot help themselves now that they have to go all in and they're going to try to indict him, and they're going to try to get him convicted so that he can't run again. But if that happens, if that inevitability makes its way through, if anybody can beat it, it's Trump. But I don't know what happens. I just don't. I mean, I think all bets are off. I mean, a lot of people in the IC community, and so do I. And we've had this conversation between us all, and there's no real consensus amongst people as to what exactly is going to happen.
It's an event horizon.
And that's frightening. These are smart people, like you said. I mean, these are not stupid people.
Yeah.
And if some of the smartest, brightest people I know and that are running psychological operations and info ops all over the world, and they believe, first of all, that this is all an info op, and oh my gosh, it's out of control, and nobody's got the football. Where does it go, man?
That's, I think, Terrence McKenna, the philosopher, ethnobotanist, and psychedelic admirer, I guess, advocate. Aficionado, well-studied man died in the year 2000, but he had a great quote, and if his voice is so weird and eerie, but he's like, the real terror is realizing that the world isn't run by the Republicans or the Vaticans or the Jews or the Jesuits. It's run by nobody. And that's the terror, is when you realize the car is heading towards the cliff. And it's not only is there nobody in the driver's seat, there isn't a driver's seat. And you go, oh my God, this thing's hurtling down a highway at night. And you're going, somehow, it's like what Eisenhower said. He was like, we've painstakingly set up this civilization over millennia. And he gets to the top and he realizes there was like no plan for continuity of government. If like nukes went off, he was like, it's this cold terror sets in that you go, oh, you break down, and hypothetically, you open the cockpit door. I don't need the NSA breaking down my doors, and you see no one in the cockpit, and you go, oh, this is okay.
This is interesting.
There's 500 people on this plane. We're going through a thunderstorm. Okay. And then you realize there was never a pilot, and you go, well, how did we get this far? But so that kind of brings me, because one of my favorite things, and I've interviewed the author, Garrett Graff, who wrote the book, and I know I'll let you go in a minute. The author of Raven Rock, about continuity of government, continuity of operations, enduring constitutional freedom. I've interviewed Ron Moeller of the CIA, who was involved in something at Raven Rock. And just before this one, I had on Peter Dale Scott. He's 93. He's like an OG author about JFK, 9/11, all that good stuff. And we just talked about continuity of government, really starting under Eisenhower in the 50s, or I guess Truman to Eisenhower, the whole bunker system. And that was initially for nuclear war, and then it expanded to biological war, chemical war, economic warfare. What happens if the oceans rise? All threats too, as Ed Snowden says, national security is not about America's security. It's about the security of the national elite. They plan for everything. And I mean everything. Dr. Hatfield, that's the guy's name I was thinking of earlier. But they planned for everything and every operation. And they war gamed about what would happen here, what would happen here. How do you split the country into quadrants? How do you stop this? How would you recover? I mean, they had these antennas that were made by, I think, AT&T for the nuclear bunkers. They'd come out like a missile silo after the nuclear blast. And then after the secondary nuclear blast, they had another silo and another silo. There were plans for everything to get wiped out, and like the density of granite and how you'd relay connections. And that's what ARPANET was built for, was to keep Cheyenne Mountain and the Greenbrier Hotel and Mount Weather and Raven Rock and the White House Command Center. They thought of every contingency. The paranoia of the Cold War is something that fascinates me to no end, with Curtis LeMay and Joseph McCarthy and James G. Zangleton. That whole rant, and this is just the doe-eyed hopefulness in me. I can't imagine that there was never a contingency plan for taking over an election, because ask anyone with any moderate amount of intelligence, you can't take on the U.S. military gun for gun, tank for tank, missile for missile. What's the path of least resistance? I don't know. Just win the election and then demolish it from within. the hopeful, praying, blue-eyed, red, white, and blue America, I can't accept on a rational level, just from the number of books I've read, that there wasn't a contingency plan for what happens if the Reds take over. What I can accept is maybe the whole thing's just rotted through and the people in charge of the contingency plan are in on it as well. But I want to tie that all into the article I read, I think last month, where I think they quote you about something 10 times larger than 2,000 mules, and how you were working with agencies for the last 15 or 18 months. Is there any truth to anything I just said, or am I approaching like I'm gonna die territory?
I think that what we're going to expose is, first of all, on its face, it's super easy to understand. It's not a technical leap for anyone to say, "Oh, okay, wow, that's freaking ridiculous." Everybody's going to be able to grab that, no matter who they are or where they are. They're going to be able to get that. Because we have the goods. We participated in the op. We were part of the op. We were in communication with the target at the behest of the government. We were involved deeply in this CI op. I think what's going to frighten people when they understand the gravity of what it is we're telling them, and then when we tell them that in the end, we were betrayed by the United States government and they turned it on us and went and told the enemy that it was us that did it, that it was our fault, and that we had penetrated their systems and that we had done all of this stuff. And this is the United States government that we worked for, that we were engaged with. We were planning with, we were executing with, and we were operating with. But for them to turn it on us and blame us, it's going to stun people. The worst part about the whole thing is everything that people are going to learn, because the op effectively stopped when they did blame us. Everything we're going to tell you is still in place. Everything. And they are scared to death that it's going to come out. We've been accused of everything from stealing things to, I mean, just nonsense. They're doing everything they can do to shut us up. They've got every CI that they've got trying to get to us, or they've got, I mean, they're doing everything they can do. I mean, everywhere we go, we make a speech. There's a little squirrely dude in the back with his camera, taking, yes, getting the whole thing. And it's hilarious, right? And then we'll get a call like a few days later, "Hey, we heard you said something to somebody about this." And I'm like, yeah, you moron, that was an op. We ran on you. Just figure out who it was who was telling on us, or who it was that was trying to nail us. And and it's just got to be so stupid that I'm ready for it to be over. I'm ready for it to get out there. There's some other entanglements to it that have recently come up. There are actually, I presented to some prosecutors on Monday. What is today? Tuesday?
Wednesday.
What is today? Wednesday? What is today?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay, so Monday. I presented to some prosecutors in another state, and they're going after it. They're going after the whole thing. They're going to stand up a grand jury and they're going to go get him. And I'm telling you, this is going to blow everything up that everyone thinks about this election. All of the, in the meals we started off by, Chris Krebs and all those guys. It's the most, secure election in American history. Yeah. We got this. It's not about mules. You don't have to believe anything about geointelligence. You don't have to believe anything. You just have to just sit and listen. And 2 or 3 minutes later, I'll have you convinced that everybody was in on it. Everybody. And they knew it. And the op was an op on us and not on the perps.
And it's 10 times bigger than 2,000 mules.
it is confirming of all the things that people suspect.
Well, you can end the podcast on a chilling note. That you got me scared. I don't know if I should be scared or excited.
100%, brother.
I'm
it's a little of both. I mean, I've got both excitement and anxiety going on all at the same time. So, what are you going to do, man?
Find God. that's my logic after all this.
Amen.
Like flag ain't saving you.
Amen,
find God. But whoo, Mr. Gregg Phillips making my heart rate go through the roof. Good Lord, my friend.
Brother, thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate you so much.
Man, I'd love to have you on a million more times. My podcast is yours. Guys, go check out Patriot Games, and I will put that in the description, as well as your website, your Truth Social, the episode with Jeff Prather. That was a brilliant episode. I forgot he was supposed to pop in today. Shout out, Mr. Prather. You bailed on us today. We're both heartbroken, and I'm not sure if we can forgive you. But
love you, Jeff.
I love you too, Jeff. Gregg, thank you so much, man. I will send this to you when it's up. And closing words, closing thoughts.
I appreciate you so much, man. It's gonna be an amazing hot August, and we really look forward to all of it, and look forward to catching up with you again.
Oh God, my man's scaring me. As long as the nuclear war comes, my birthday is August 7th. As long as the nuclear war comes after that, so let me hit good.
You're good. You're good through your birthday.
Okay. Woo. 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 All right. Well, on another note, anybody listening, podcast resumes Monday. I'll be out of town. Please go check out all of Mr. Phillips' stuff. Be in the description. And dude, thank you so much. And I will text this to you when it's up.
You, bro.
God bless. Thank you for everything.
Thanks,
you've
man.
done. Stay safe, everybody. And again, for the millionth time, no violence was incited on this podcast. All peace and love. We love each other. God bless. God